Hey, what's up, everybody? Just want to let y'all know that this one ends a little abruptly. Had the family come through at the end there, so had to cut it short. But I was trying to get all I could for you, so that, and I fixed these audio issues, I believe. So you won't have any more of those issues from me, as far as I can tell from right now. So that'd be good too. So y'all enjoy. All right.
All right, man. What are we going to do today, Mr. Chaos? That's
Mr.
what you should put
Chaos.
down instead of bold ideas, Mr. Chaos.
Mr. Chaos. We got Captain Chaos out in South Park land. Remember him?
I like Captain Chaos. Captain Chaos is your new
Well, we're going to talk about
handle.
some bold ideas today. We got John with us today. He's a friend of yours.
Master John Zurisk from Illinois, Cedar Creek, if I'm not mistaken. John, can you do me a favor and just tell everybody about yourself and what you do and what you like to do for fun?
I was born and raised in Illinois, jumped over to Indiana, and been here 25 years. So we're having fun on this side of the state line. Um, I started martial arts when I was 12, and I kept at it. And I have had the pleasure of meeting Master Michael Menino and others that have influenced me throughout the years. And we met in the strangest of circumstances. So um, there's this crazy thing that I saw on TV around midnight one day, going way back, like in 2008, something like that. Bunch of dudes in karate uniforms breaking concrete and baseball bats and just acting like complete idiots.
Coconuts and
Coconuts, and I loved every minute. I was like, what is this?
Superhuman
And
stuff.
right,
yeah.
it was just insane. And I was like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to check that out. Well, you connect the dots, you end up going in a tournament and you meet some of these guys and they're nuts and you're like, I want to be like them. So, and then you cross paths with someone like Michael Menino and you become very, very good friends and it's awesome. So
Brother.
so you asked about my history a little bit. Just think martial arts, martial arts, martial.
Martial arts, martial arts.
What did you start with? You said you started at 12. What was your first?
Yeah, it was a Japanese style called Shotokan Karate. I got my black belt while I was in high school, which was pretty cool.
That is
So
cool.
there were a couple of us that were doing karate back in the day, and we became friends. Like you don't really get into too many fights because people know you can fight, so they just kind of leave you alone, which is cool. Then I met another instructor
Have you ever been in a fight out of karate?
once, and it ended
Ooh,
very quickly.
this is a great start to a great episode.
I love it.
Let's give some context. John Zurisk is the humblest, most greatest guy on the planet. He's 6'4", 260 pounds around when he competes, and then he does the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life is not marathons, not swimming 2 miles, not riding a bike for 120 miles, and then not running a marathon. It's all three of them in the same day. It's called an Ironman, which is legally insane. Legally insane.
Sounds
So
like
we're going
insane.
to talk about how John got in a fight, 6'4", let's just say 240, 250 pounds. So let's see I want to see how this one plays out. I don't even know if I know this story.
I played on a recreational volleyball league, and it was adults, and I was 16 at the time. There was a guy there that was a little bit too competitive, and we would just break up in teams and all this. And my nephew was close in age to me, and my nephew's a bit of a jokester. He likes to play, and he happened to be on the same team as this adult. This guy was pretty muscular, pretty big. My nephew was acting a little bit silly, and the guy walked up and punched him right in the mouth. I literally saw his tooth come out of his bottom part of his jaw where his skin is. It split, and
It
his
came
tooth
through
was
the
sticking
tooth
out
or through the lip there.
right through the lip. And
Yeah, that's a
he bent
nasty.
over. I walked over and I said, I go, why did you hit him? And he goes, you want me to hit you? And as he was saying that, I squared up and we always were taught, like boxers, they talk about this boxer button right here.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, because I have a
Deep
biology yeah, it's in your jaw. If you look at a drawing, there's two little bitty holes, and that's where the nerve endings come out and feed your face, basically. So if you pop somebody there, it overwhelms the body. And so I cracked him in the jaw. He swung at me. I cracked him in the jaw again. He bent over and then he started yelling, "You blindsided me." And then,
It was the third hit.
yeah, it was like I was ready to go again. And then he got in his car and he left. And it was like, that's it? That was it? I was waiting for a tussle. But, it's weird. I told my karate teacher about it and he said, good. That's what he said. He says, good. Sometimes you got to use it. But as Master Michael will tell you, you really don't want to get into a fight. Like some guys, like I had a lot of students of mine, some of them wanted to do, MMA. And I said, okay, you want to get into a fight. You want to fight somebody. I said, I don't want to fight people, but if I have to, I know how to fight them. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like it's a mental thing. So I hope does that make sense? That
Yeah,
there's,
yeah, yeah.
It makes perfect sense because
Most
yeah,
people think they want to, but they don't really want to.
they really don't want to.
Yeah.
There's legal action, right? Like if something happens,
Yeah.
you can end up in jail. Real
yes.
quick story. You're talking about fights. Just as a quick example, we have these dunes. They're a beach, and a lot of kids hang out there and stuff. And there's fights sometimes. Apparently, this guy hit another guy, knocked him out, and the guy died. Basically died. So that young man from high school who popped the other kid is now in jail for the rest of his life, in essence, over one punch, over one argument. So people don't, they see MMA and they're like, yeah, I want to do that, but it's in real life. You really don't want to do that.
Yeah, the
So
way that the society is so litigious now, especially, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
How about you? Have you ever been into a fight? How did that go?
Me?
Both of you.
Oh, I want to hear Brian.
Yeah, way back in school days, there was a few. Nothing crazy, though. It's just kind of one off, two off, and then everybody breaks it
Mhm.
up.
Absolutely.
Nothing
Yeah.
crazy.
For
Nothing,
me,
nothing.
when I was a kid, it was just got in a couple tussles, win some, lose some. One time at my bus stop, some kids were throwing apples at cars, and the dude came out of the car and punched a full-grown adult. I was junior high school, so what are you, 12, 13? Clocked me. And
Jeez.
I was from, I'd worked in Detroit. My dad had a store, and I could take anything I wanted. I had a knife, and I just didn't have it on me at the time. I was going to get up and get in a lot of trouble, which I didn't. But when you're in martial arts, typically, I've noticed two things. That any time that I was in a I was confident enough to be the martial artist. Whenever someone come up to and challenge me, I would, hey, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm like, all right, and smile. And then they take a step back because, like, wait a minute, you said yes too fast,
It's not the
and you're
reaction they're
smiling,
looking for.
right? So they generally like, wait a minute, this guy said this, he wants to get into it too fast, too quick, and he's got a smile on his face. There's something wrong with this scenario. Now, if they're drunk, that's a different ballgame because then their cognitive reasoning is gone. And I'm not, me and John, we're not in bars that are gonna, we're not in places that's gonna solidify those situations. You know what I mean? So we don't, the best way to describe what we do is, somebody said, you got to register your hands. I go, no, but we have the same responsibility as a police officer. So let's say there's a weapon. Someone's got a knife. If I'm 5'10", and around 200 pounds. So if a 150-pound drunk guy comes at me, I have the ability to kill him. I know several ways to kill him. Twist his neck. I know several. I'm not going to go over that. I'm not going to tell anybody how to do it. But I know how to kill him. If I do that to a drunk guy, I go to jail. I used my knowledge like a weapon and killed this individual, right? I can't kill him. If a guy 5'10" comes at me, I can fight. I should have the ability to handle the situation without a kill strike. We call it devastation moves in our style, right? Now, if a guy comes at me with a knife, he has the ability to kill me, any size, the 120, the 200-pound guy, and he's coming at me. I have the ability to kill him. I can use that then. And then when the police come, you say these words. I tell every student when they go to black belt every time. I was in fear for my life. Because self-defense is the only plea you can get when you kill somebody. That's the only plea. I was in fear for my life. I was in fear for my life or somebody else's life. I had
Yeah.
to defend myself.
There's a
Does
guy
that
I
make sense?
follow. There's a guy I follow. He's an old special forces guy. He kind of has similar thought on unsheathing. When you're unsheathing, right? He has this thing in his head. He said, "Whose life am I about to save?" Is the thought you should be having. Because if you have that thought, you're in the right frame. You know.
That's a
That's a
good
great
point.
way. That's a good, quick way.
Yep.
That's a great, quick way to bring that analysis to place.
Yep.
It
Yep.
really is.
Can I
Whose
add to
life am
that
I
for a
saving?
second?
Sure.
Yeah. So one of my belts, one of the martial arts that I studied, I got up to brown belt in judo, and a lot of police officers do judo because of the restraints and holds and such.
It's twists and flips and things. All those
Twists and
body
flips and
control.
yeah. I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is kind of a derivative of judo. If you go
Mhm.
back historically,
Yeah.
it's actually a direct relative. But anyway, so you get the sense of what it's all about. Plus, you get to do throws and all that.
Hmm.
And I've had the pleasure of training police officers, and one of the things that they don't want to necessarily know how to break somebody's neck or anything like that, right?
No,
Subdue.
they
What
don't.
Subdue.
they want to
They don't
control
ask for it.
this, right? They want to control the situation. The very, very, very first thing that I teach them is when somebody grabs you, how do you break loose? And then how do you go from there? In other words, you want to they don't necessarily they if they get themselves in a situation where they're in trouble, where their gun gets grabbed
Mm.
or they get grabbed, they want to know how to react to that as well. So you kind of teach them that, in other
Well,
words, survival, right?
that's where the violence of
Yes.
action comes in.
Right. Before the the poop and the fan hit. So
Mm.
Poop in the
it's kind of
fan.
like the preemptive. It's like the preemptive move. So what's cool about that is, especially with judo, it's called the gentle way. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
Mm.
I did
it's
not know.
actually
I'm
yeah
a yellow belt in judo, and I didn't even know that.
yeah. If you look it up, even in Wikipedia or whatever, it's called the gentle way. And the reason it's called the gentle way is because there's enough technique there to gently handle the situation, but then there's also, like my judo teacher would explain, is when you throw somebody, you're using the entire earth to smash them. So it's like, instead of like a weapon, you're using the earth as a
Yeah,
weapon.
the
So it's
ground is
kind
a
of
weapon. Yeah.
exactly, thought I'd add that in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't consider it. I don't judo compared to Muay is they're both martial arts, but judo seems a little more
Well,
nuanced.
everything stems from judo, really, right?
To some degree, really what it is, there was like, you're familiar with what Renaissance means? Like there's a period of time of enlightenment where you get these
Explode.
people that like are suddenly, contributing to like the larger good of the society. There was a Renaissance, early 50s. It wasn't that long ago, I guess, from different people's perspective, but there was Jigoro Kano, he was the founder of judo. Ginjin Funakoshi, who's the founder of Japanese karate. He was actually Okinawan, but anyway, he's associated with that. There was a gentleman, his last name was Miyagi. That's where the Karate Kid stole it. He had a style called Goju-Ryu. It's a harder
Kojiro.
style. Yeah, Goju-Ryu. I mean, it's like, also Aikido. There was Morihei
Mhm.
Ueshiba. These four were friends. They traded techniques, and these are like big time names. These styles are still in existence. There's thousands
Mhm.
upon thousands of students. The point being, it's like it was
Hundreds
like
of thousands.
it was like an enlightenment period. So like you were saying, where does everything stem? They're all they're
Mhm.
kind of like this, and they
Mhm.
all learned their techniques before all that. Somebody told me this. Tell me what you guys think of this saying. If you go out to battle, let's say you two go out to battle, and whoever comes back passes the information on how they survived the battle, and then it just kind of grows and grows and go, okay, this guy did this. So like judo, because these guys are in samurai outfits,
Mhm.
if you can get that guy to the ground, then you can get your sword out. We were talking about swords earlier. Peel
Mhm.
back his shielding and be able to stab him in a weak point. If he's
Mhm.
standing up and he's fully guarded and his shielding is, it's hard to chop
It's
somebody down. But if
like
you get him down on the
overflapped.
ground,
It's like kind of flaps over itself. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of, think of a dragon, right? If
Mhm.
find that weak
You
point.
can find the holes in the scales.
Uh,
In real true samurai armor is very difficult to get through. You probably can't get through it through the actual armor. You have to get into the joint points. So where the
Exactly.
joints are is the only
Armpit,
places, yeah, under the arms and
neck.
behind the
Oh,
legs
probably
and
the
the
same thing with
groin.
like the medieval stuff, right? Those are pretty well
Exactly.
done.
Yeah.
Exactly. Medieval, they had broadswords, and I mean it was very pugilistic, right? They're trying to crush each other.
Blunt force.
Where, right? Yeah, where the Japanese
Um,
sword, quite honestly, if you hit sword to sword, there's a chance you'll chip or break the sword, or they can wrap and they coil and they break. A sword is a
yeah.
very precise weapon.
Yeah, they're all to
Just
be
think of it.
used in a different way, you know.
Yeah, I actually have a black belt in sword called Mugai-Ryu. That's our style, and I know it's crazy
So
as this sounds. Yeah, I
finish
studied.
this because I got another question for you after this. It's my favorite story, and you know what I'm going to ask.
I get you. Yeah, there was it was an American actually. He was in the Air Force. He lived in Japan. He actually married a Japanese woman. He studied sword with high-ranking Japanese, and this is a family style. This is not like you go down the street and, oh, I'm going to join the school. No, 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 no. You got to be in the family to get in. He got one of the highest ranks for a gaijin, right, a white guy. So he came back to the States, and he actually was told by his teacher, "You need to expand our style, but
Uh,
you got to be very, very careful who your students are." So I ended up one of his students, and I actually had to test in front of a Japanese board. They flew
uh,
them in. I'm telling you what,
wow.
man,
Yeah, serious.
there's
These guys are no joke.
there's nothing like you're showing them their style, and they're going to pass fail you if they like it or not.
In a foreign
And
land.
yeah, and
And
it's
they flew how many thousands of miles to do this?
so don't screw up, right?
Right.
No
So
pressure. No pressure.
Yeah.
speaking of that, I want to overemphasize who you're supposed to train.
Mm,
So John told me this story when he was testing for black belt, how one of the students wasn't even able to test after how many years to get to that level?
at least
5 years?
six,
6 years.
five, six.
6 years. He's at testing. Dude comes in from Japan. Please tell the story.
So this gentleman was a bit rotundus, right? Had a bit of a belly on him.
So kind.
Knowledgeable,
It's so kind.
very knowledgeable. Yeah, we all have to some degree. You hit an age where we all have that, right? But yeah, mentally, he was set. He was good. He understood the techniques. He understood what would be asked of him, what to do. Physically, it was like, I hate to say it this way, but he was not in the physical shape that you would necessarily think of when you're testing for a black belt. Okay,
Yeah. That sounds like
and
that. They're sloppy.
right, right. And the head of Mugai style that came to the States to test us specifically walked up to him, slapped him on the stomach, and um,
What do you
the
say?
word.
What do you say in Japanese?
So you've heard of Mount Fuji, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw Mount
Okay,
Fuji.
you did see Mount Fuji. It's called Yama, Yama. So it's Fuji Yama. When you say Yama, that means mountain. And he's smacking this guy's belly and he's calling him Yama. And then he went up to him and he said, "You can't test." So basically, what he's telling him is, "We came all the way out here. We're going to test you. And we can already tell because you didn't even discipline yourself to be physically capable of doing our test. You already failed." I mean, there was no bullshitting. They just, and that's why I hate to say it this way. It made me feel better when I got the black belt doing that
You
because
earned it.
well, it's not like
You
American
earned
schools. If
it.
I can to some degree, they call them McDojos and what have
Mm-hmm.
Oh
you,
God. Oh
where
God.
you walk in, you pay your amount every month, you're going to get that black belt. They'll even tell you when you're going to get your black belt. And now, if you go out and you get into an altercation and get your butt whooped, they don't care. You know what I mean? Where in
Mm-hmm.
Japan,
It's
you're
all
carrying a
pride. It's all pride
yeah.
over there, man.
Yeah, man,
So it's
you're in a book. You're in a book in Japan. I could go to Japan right now. Your name is in a book on a family style from centuries ago, before Christ was
Wow.
born. Yeah, it's
before
insane,
Christ.
man.
No, they take it as their religion. I hate to
Yeah.
say it. I mean, I'm sure they have other religion, but they take it as a religion. And I've seen the some people, like John's talking about McDojos. I had an experience where Ed McDojo was around us, and we just, I don't know what you do, but we just ignore them. And it was Master Bill. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Master Bill. I tested for my first on with this one colleague. We tested the same day. We got our second on, and then he wanted to buy the school. And this guy was not, the school would have disappeared if he bought it. Right? He was just the kind of individual that should not own a school. My instructor said no. And he goes, okay, I'm going to go start my own school. I'm a second-degree black belt. I look online, and on his website, Master Burgess, and I go to my instructor, and I go, Master Burgess, fourth dan. And he looked at it. He goes, well, that's not my belt. I go, I know it's not your belt. How does this happen? And he looked me dead in the eye and said he paid for it.
Oh, yuck.
And so those are the kind of schools. And then someone said to me, he goes, why don't you go pay for a fourth dan when I was a second dan? I go, because it's not my belt. Every belt I got, I earned. I don't want a belt I can buy.
Yeah.
But that shows the integrity of the artist, not the art. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a big culture thing.
But let me ask both of you. Okay, let's switch. If I can bring this up because I want to see what you guys
This
think.
is an open forum to ask as crazy as you can.
Yeah, as well as you
All right.
want, man.
Here's a good one for you. Okay. Do you think if you're capable of using a gun, would you bother studying a martial art? I'm going to phrase it that way. I just want to see what your thoughts are, both of you.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're good with a gun, why bother studying a martial art? Have you ever thought in those terms?
Yeah, of course. You have to do both.
Okay, I got a follow-up question. Do you carry your gun with you at all times?
You're supposed to, but nobody does.
Yeah.
No. We
No, I
both
hear
live
you.
in, how is your state of gun control? We both live in states that, it's called open carry. So we don't have to get a license to carry. In Michigan, I got my license to carry. I moved to Florida and it's open. I came here and they're like, the cop said, I said, I talked to the cop. I said, hey, what's the gun laws here? He goes, don't show me yours and I won't show you mine.
It's conceal and carry here. It's Indiana. Are you kidding? These guys, when it's hunting season, it sounds like it's a war front around my house. I mean, it's like the poor wild animals around here, they're running for cover, man. No, we got, if I can, I'm just gonna say it out loud. We got hillbillies, they're living their life. Honestly, everybody, like, if you break down, people stop. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like, okay, I'll just say it like that.
What about downtown Chicago? We've been there. We
Okay,
stayed at your
so
house. We're there. How does that work over there?
so I think there's a little bit of a misnomer, right? Everybody says Chicago, you put it under one blanket, it's crap. It's it's a riot down there all the time, and people are dying left and right. It's where you're at. Like if
Yeah.
you're in the proper city, it sounds like you've been to Chicago before.
Well, I
and
know somebody from, and he always points me to Southside. It's like, yeah, Southside's like that, but it's not the rest of the place. Right?
No, South Side is just it's a disaster. It's a
Yeah.
disaster. Yeah,
Yep,
it's bad.
I went out to St. Louis a while back, and it's kind of
Oh,
like there's a bridge that you cross over from east to west St. Louis, and you go over that bridge, which of course I had to do just because.
yeah,
Yep.
yep.
But you go over there, you see boarded up windows, bars in the windows. Nobody's really walking around over there, but it's like a dividing line. It reminds me of like I guess like old timey places always had the train tracks, right? It was different on the other side of the train tracks. It was common.
Man, I'm so glad you brought that up because you're absolutely right. St. Louis is like that, right? Yeah, and I did the same thing.
And you were in a different world, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we have Gary.
All cities are like that. Detroit has 8 Mile. One side of 8 Mile is standard normal. The other side is just everything you've seen on TV. Yeah. It's chaos on a scale that you can't imagine. Like the things I've seen over there.
Oh yeah, 15 miles from my house north. Guess where I live by? The murder capital of the world, Gary, Indiana. And
Gary, Indiana.
I promise you, at night, you do not, or day. Actually, quick story if I can.
Go for
So
it.
in this Northwest Indiana area, like if you're a martial artist, we all kind of know each other and we all respect each other, right?
Right, right, right.
And we try to go to everybody's tournaments. Like if you got a tournament, everybody kind of shows up, and anyway, it's all good for the community, martial arts community. Well, there was three teachers in particular that were from the Gary area, and they were awesome. They're freaking awesome. Well, one of them held downtown Gary a tournament. I showed up. I got my karate uniform on. I got my black belt on. I parked. I'm walking. People are eyeballing me. I'm pretty much the only Caucasian walking on their sidewalk. But I guarantee you, when the doors opened, everybody was cool with me,
It's
man.
back
You
to
know what I'm
it's
saying?
back to school, right?
Yes. So I guess in a weird way, if I can add that martial arts I kind of like it because it's acceptant of like there's the racial aspects, cultural aspects, all that. It kind of goes away. With the exception, of course, when I studied sword, there is still like a criticality if you're not Japanese. It's like,
Well, they're
but
always
anyway.
critical of that type
Is
of
it kind
stuff.
of like the mafia? You can't be a mob boss unless you're Italian.
The Japanese don't play, man. They do not play.
Oh,
And
they do not play.
I hear about people
You
that move over there all the time. It's like, yeah, you can be as assimilated as you want, but you'll never be one of them.
No,
Michael,
they're the
you were there
racists.
recently.
I hate to
Did you
say
get?
they're racist. They're racist.
Yeah,
That's their race, and you can't join it. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, but it's not.
Every group is.
I get it. I get it, but I
Every
would say
group is.
but it's not a negative thing with them. So it's not like, the KKK was, negative towards black people, or, there's the Black Panthers are negative to white people. It's not that. It's that you're a different race, and that's okay, but you're not part of us.
Mm.
They respect you, right? Tell me if I'm saying anything wrong, John. You know more Japanese than I do. You actually know how to speak some of it.
Oh,
We're Gaichi, which
oh, yeah.
means not Japanese, right? I don't know how to put that in a nice way.
here's the thing that you're
Fucking
taught.
American.
Yeah, when you study any type of Japanese martial art, which I've had the pleasure, judo's Japanese, that's karate style. I studied Japanese sword, Japanese. It's called the Iaido. And something that I learned, okay, if you walk into their school, the first thing you don't go, hey, can I join you? Can I do it? You take your shoes off, you sit down, you shut your mouth, you watch, you make zero noise, you don't move. When the class is done, if the teacher comes to you and introduces themselves, now the warmth starts to begin. In the United States, it's not like that at all. You get
Well,
a front desk
this
and
is the
slapping
old
this.
school
Why
way.
isn't anybody here? I want help, so.
This is the old school way, though. I mean, that sounds like a time when like children are to be seen, not heard.
Amen.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
if you call it old school, I was just in Japan November last year, and I'm telling you, it hasn't changed. There's no old school, new school. It's the same school since the
Well, it's
beginning of time. You know what's the weirdest part? The weirdest part for me, my daughter goes, "Hey, let's go on the trains." We got on the trains, and she goes, "Don't say a fucking word, Dad." She goes, you cannot talk on the train. What are you talking about? Everybody talks on the train. I got in the train. It was whispered. Nobody talked. Nobody was on their cell phones saying anything. I had a closing on a house. I had to answer this freaking phone. 12-hour difference. And it's early in the morning, and I'm like, I can't talk right now. I'm on a train in Japan. I go, just fucking close this thing, please. And then she's like, and I was the only, and we're talking trains, like 7 or 8 lines of trains. Everybody takes trains. I was the only dude talking in that couple seconds. I'm not kidding.
it's tough.
It is just so respectful.
That's what it is. That's what I was gonna say. It's all about respect over there, man.
It is all about respect.
There's two big sayings in Japan, and one is, if you're the nail sticking up, pound it down. And immediately you think like, okay, what do they mean by that? Well, if you're loud or you're obnoxious or whatever,
Conformity.
everybody's going to come down on you. The second saying they have, which I really admire, is it's called 7 times down, 8 times up. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like you're going to get knocked down in life, but you better get up that last time. You better get up that last time. That's why in the type of karate I studied, they actually have they have federations, a lot of these things for sport, and they actually have the World Karate Federation in Japan. Now, just to show you that they're no nonsense, do you know how you can tell somebody that has like championship level skills? You're not going to believe. You're not even going to. I will give you my lunch money if you could tell me what physical aspect in Japan tells you that those guys are at world level capability. Guess what that is? Any
Physical
idea?
aspect.
Yeah, yeah. Like
BMI.
if both their two front teeth are missing
Oh, that's a
because
badge of honor.
it's a badge of honor. And when they get their teeth knocked out, I'm not lying. If you literally go and look online, like World Karate Federation, Japanese championships, those dudes are like hockey players. They're missing their two front teeth. And honest to God, you don't want to screw with them. I went to a seminar one
No,
time.
no.
These dudes are brutal. They do, like when we hit, it's like you pop and
Yes.
pull back.
You
When
pull
they
the
hit,
punch
they're trying to knock your ass across the floor.
I'm through it.
And it's like,
on
you
every
know,
strike. Not
on
like
every
it's not
strike.
like a setup like a pop pop. It's like pop pop pop.
Yeah.
Every particular strike is to knock you out.
And you better take it, and you better like 7 times down, 8 times up, right? And the other thing I wanted to add is my judo teacher, who recently passed away a few years ago, he lived to 95 years old. He grew up in Japan. He actually was in an internment camp in Washington State, Washington, a whole different story. But he used to tell me when he
During
would
World War
visit,
II?
yeah, yeah, Tech Mizuda. I think did you meet Tech? I don't know if you met Tech or not, but Takanori Mizuda.
God, it
Um,
sounds familiar. Was he at one of your tournaments?
No, he came to the school a couple times, but I just got to share this with you. He said when he was growing up in Japan, that the way they initiate you to karate or judo class, excuse me, they choke you out until you passed out, drop you on the floor, and then you kind of come out of
There
it.
you
That
go.
was your initiation.
Pretty
These
cool.
are
Pretty
kids.
cool.
These are kids. And he said you can't do that in the United States. I said no, you get sued.
No.
You'll get sued.
We're
But
litigious, man.
you're right, sir.
Well,
You're absolutely right.
yeah, martial arts. That's martial arts, though. Martial means military, military arm.
Militant, yeah. Mm.
And when with my instructor, I had some great conversations with him, and we were talking about, Joe Rogan said it best. He goes, I've been around and I've heard of people dying in tournaments, and my instructor's old school. He started martial arts when I was born. He goes, I don't know if he started martial arts in '65. I was born in '65. He goes, how long have I been doing it, Michael? And I go, you've been doing it for 68 years, 69 years, 70. He goes, he's just doing as long as I've been alive. And the guy is crazy, insane, cool. But, he said, yeah, there's people that die. And he's completely okay with it, which nowadays is insane. I haven't heard of anybody in the last 10 years dying. How about you, John?
This is kind of like the same people they feel for the soldiers when they die. It's like they signed up for this shit. I don't know what you're surprised about.
Well, we were talking
You're
old school
stepping
today.
into that world, man.
Old school and today. Old school, completely understand. People get choked out, people get hurt, people go to the doctors, people die.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a mom comes up to me and goes, yeah, I want my son to learn martial arts, but I don't want him to get hurt. I said, oh, you want me to teach him to swim and not get wet?
This is
Good way
like
to
the
put
old
it.
Rogan line. He says about most people, right? Like most people want to go around and they think they want to fight, but like as soon as somebody squares up against you, you'd be like, "Oh, you don't really want to fight. You just want to hit people."
Well, I don't know if John had a perfect story one time where someone was acting like an idiot. He was coming home from a karate class and he had his uniform. I'll let John tell the story. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Tell the story when you came home one time and the guy was acting like a jerk to you. And let me preface it by John's the nicest guy on the planet until
Obviously.
it's not time to be nice. And it was a
It's
biker. Wasn't it dude on a bike or motorcycle? Or
yeah. A couple houses down from my house, I came home. I had my karate uniform. It was sweaty. It was a long workout. I was tired, and I was like, I'm not going to change it. I'm just go home and shower and clean up. As I was getting out of my car, a couple houses down, one of the guys that was drinking a lot starts hollering, you know, is that your neighbor? You know, Mr. Karate Guy, I'll break his knees and da da da, you know, and I'm like, am I hearing this right now? I go in
Probably
the
because they saw
house.
you from a distance and didn't know you were 6'4".
Well, I go in the house and my wife's sitting on the couch she's
Is
like, "What's
another
wrong?"
angel.
Yeah, she could tell like what's wrong? I said, and I told her, and she goes, "Go over there and kick his ass." I
And for
said, "You know
Michelle
what?"
to say that, for
I said, "You
Michelle
know
to
what? I
say
think
that,
you're right." Yeah, I said, "I think you're right." So I took a walk down there, and as I was walking up, these guys like, you know, they were drinking and just hanging out, and all of a sudden,
it's a
you know, I
motorcycle group, or
it was the three of them came out of no, all of them came out of motorcycle. Now that I think about it. And the one guy, he was a pretty big guy. He was drinking, you know, he was loud. And I said, "Hey, you know, my neighbor Tom, he knew me. He's like, "Hey, John, what's going on?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I was walking in my house and I heard this guy yell that he could kick my ass. And I just wanted to meet the guy who wants to kick my ass." Because at that point, you know, you're upset. And I probably should have taken the higher road, went in the house and thought, whatever,
you've
you
taken the
know.
high road 1,000 times. I'm glad you took the low
Right.
road.
This time I took the low road, right? So I walk over and
The road less traveled.
the guys, his buddies literally go, "He said it." And they pointed out, they pointed right at him. And the guy like looked at me I said, "Hey, I got a question for you." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Have you ever studied martial arts?" He's like, "I wrestled." I said, "Oh, wrestling. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like wrestling." I said, "If you want, we could go out on this lawn and you can wrestle and I can do whatever I want. Let's see who wins." I'm not making this up. He puts his beer down. He makes a big circle around me, gets on his bike, and literally leaves at that point. And I'm glad that happened. I'm honest to God, I'm glad that happened because I feel
No,
like,
no.
well, I felt like that would have been, all these years I've
John,
been
you would have
taught by
done
my
whatever you
instructors.
needed at whatever
I
time. The guy
know,
had
but I
zero
don't,
skills.
No, that's a different situation though. You got three bikers that are hanging out drinking. You don't know what they got on them. You know.
there's that. But the only thing that was probably saving my ass was I came back to the house and my wife basically said I was watching the whole thing and I had my phone with me. I was ready to call the cops. I said, yeah, I said, I got upset. I probably should have just taken a deep breath and ignored it. And you're absolutely right. You know, look, can I talk to you guys about this for a second?
Yeah,
Sure.
So,
boy.
no matter how big of a badass you think you are, and that's something I learned, is that, and there's people that have said this, one wild punch or a hammer on the head
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
you don't see
Hmm.
something, you're involved in something. In fact, my
Hmm.
sword teacher got into a bar fight with a guy. They went outside the bar. They're going at it. He said somebody took a knife and stabbed him in the kidney while he was fighting this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
And he said, my full attention went from this
Yeah,
guy
tunnel vision.
to I just got stabbed. And that was the end of the fight. And like I'm so glad you said that, you
Mhm.
know, it's always good to avoid
Because all this
those types
stuff
of
is
situations.
great to know, but like you said, like the gun and martial arts thing, it's the ultimate thing of all of this is situational awareness, isn't it?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
exactly, 100%.
yeah,
Because
100%.
yeah.
situational awareness will save you from many more situations than either one of those tools will.
You're absolutely right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it
And
won't
it's
even be 100% even. There was a story. I don't know who you were talking about, Mike, but you had a guy who teaches situational awareness got jammed up. And I was like, oh my God, that's so demoralizing for us regular people.
Well, it's gut wrenching. It's like when you, first you got to learn something, then you got to do it proficiently, and then you got to teach it.
It's
But
awareness,
you've done
man.
this
It's
technique or
awareness.
this mentality for years, and this guy was a third-degree black belt, amazing black belt. He was just an amazing black belt, and he teaches this. He teaches. You know, at third dan, you're teaching for 5 years minimum. And he was going for his he was about 25 at the time, 26. Just a great martial artist, young, limber, and the spin kicks out of this world. But he and I took a test, the builder's test, and it was at the Renaissance Center in Detroit or Cobalt, and he had to take his accounting test there. At that time in the 80s, that's the only place where it was held. All Michigan to come to Cobalt Hall. by the Renaissance Center. And I took my builder's test. I did the same thing. I went out and I went in my car. He took his test. He was the first one. He was happy as hell. He dropped the test down and he goes, "Oh, man, this is great." He's walking back to his car in the Kobo parking lot. And it's a big parking lot in downtown Detroit. And he's walking between two vans. Two dudes jump in front of him. And he goes, and he turns around and there's a dude behind him. And he just goes, "I teach this shit." I teach this shit.
Yeah.
But he was so excited, you know, he just got caught off guard.
Yeah. It's
You
so
know,
hard to be on point all the time, you know?
And I get it, you know, because when I took my test, I was like nervous. I didn't walk between two vans, but I could have easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It could have been me, it could have been any of us at that time. And he just, and how he handled it was, I mean, just top notch. The one of the guy pulls out, the one in the front, there's two guys in front, one guy in back. The guy in front pulls out a knife and goes, give me your wallet. And he's just like, "God damn it, you won." I screwed up. And then he goes, "Give me your watch." And he hands out his watch. And then the guy goes, "Give me your ring." He goes, "I can't get my ring off." And then the dude, this is where John understands. The dude got close enough to him because
red, green, red, right?
At 4 or 5 feet, I can't grab that knife. I don't feel comfortable. It's a slashing weapon, right? And so the dude comes up to his face and puts a knife right here where we can grab it and like, now it's a different ballgame.
You're in my wheelhouse now, right?
He goes, "I can get it off," and he goes like this. "Wait a minute, I want my watch and wallet back." And then he grabbed the dude and spun him around. And when we grab, we're supposed to grab the wrist and torque the wrist and drop the knife out of the hand. It wasn't perfect. He grabbed the hand, spun it, and then brought him to his knees and just started pushing the knife into the dude. And so the dude has the knife in his hand, stabbing himself.
Stop hitting yourself.
No, stop stabbing yourself. Stop stabbing yourself. And the other two were like, "What's going on here?" The guy in the back reacted first and started coming back at him. He turned and did a low kick, hyperextending the dude's knee.
Nice.
It just went, instead of going like this, it went crushed. He said he threw up immediately. And I was like, wow. And the other dude was like trying to grab the dude and didn't know what he was trying to do. He did a jump front kick, hit the dude, and the dude, the vans are like this, and there's the lane for the cars, and the other set of cars, the dude kind of like tumbled and hit the other car on the other side of the lane. He starts going through where the guy put his wallet and watch, and then he pulled it out, and then there's a wad of money. They used to roll it at the time. They hit a roll and they put a rubber band on it, and he puts it in his pocket. And he got his watch and wallet back, and he hops in his car, and he starts taking off. And then, as a martial artist, morals get kicked in. And now he just got done with his test, and he goes, you know my accounting test? 1/4 of it is ethics. Right? Now, I left these guys like that. I stole their money. I'm going to go to the police department. So he goes to the downtown Detroit Police Department, and he goes up to the guy at the front, and he goes, "I just had an altercation inside Kobo parking lot." And the guy goes, "Okay, what happened? What'd you get stolen?" Nothing, because he got it all back. And then the guy goes, "Well, why are you here?" He goes, one guy's not doing too well. The other guy definitely has a broken leg. Another guy should be okay. But the one guy that's not doing well might not make it tonight." And then the cop just goes, "Wait a minute. You got jumped. Yet you didn't get anything stolen. And those 3 guys are injured. One of them might die." He goes, "Yeah." And the cop just goes, "Leave now." And he just goes,
That's passed.
Told by the police force to leave.
Passed. Right there.
I said, "What happened to the money and how much was it?" He goes, "Back then, a lot of money was $800. And he took his friends out to Red Lobster. Big thing back then.
That's what I would have done, Red Lobster.
Right. Actually, it's great. I hate to say it, back then it was a real great place.
Well,
So,
can I ask
yeah.
you guys an ethical question?
Sure.
Ooh, please do.
Okay. Framing it in martial arts, right? So, do you think it's ethical to host a women's self-defense class and charge big dollars for them? And when I say big dollars, $100 to do like a few hours of women's self-defense. Do you think that's ethical? Or should you pass that knowledge, like basic knowledge, to at least give, say, a female that doesn't necessarily have any experience whatsoever, the fighting chance to kind of get out of a situation, be it situational awareness, like you were describing, and then adding maybe some technique to it. You know, how you get grabbed by the wrist, you know, how to, you know, go to the weak side of the thumb to get out kind of thing, you know. Or the point being is that something that really people should be charging money for?
I think any of this stuff they should be charging money for. Because it's you can't give people things that they don't appreciate it, you know. When they earn it, when they pay for it, that's when people appreciate it, and they'll actually focus better. They'll pay attention better. Now, as far as how much that goes to, I don't know. He would be a better answer to that because I don't know the rates of classes and whatever the hell else. But
You're 100% right. I used to, you know, my son had some friends, and I taught martial arts for free, and they would never show up because we didn't have any skin. They wouldn't see any skin in me, and I get that now. You know, but just like you said, if you pay for it, you're 100%. I agree totally with Brian, 100%. Because if you pay for it, you're gonna remember it. You're gonna practice it. You're gonna do it.
Cost you something.
It costs you something. So if and I've given away martial arts, and you know the kids did. I gotta admit, they did pretty good. We went to a fight night, and one of the kids knocked a dude out with a punch, and they were grappling, and they choked him out. So, you know, they got something out of it, but they didn't keep going. That's the part that really hurt me the most. I learned something that day.
Oh,
what do you think, John?
No, I appreciate it. I think, you know, like we used it to promote our school, right? We said free. It was a women in wine thing my wife did. And the big thing was my wife taught it. I was the punch dummy. You know what I mean? So, and women relate to women better. It's like, can I be blunt with you guys?
Also, there's a lot.
Please, that's what we're here for.
No, it's women have to understand that fighting a man is different, and by using you as, you know, big huge bad guy, it gives the woman an understanding. They got to get under the guy and how to do it and what to do, not to try and overpower the guy, how to use the technique. No, it makes perfect sense.
Well, I'm gonna make 2 quick points. One is, do women feel more comfortable with a man gynecologist or a woman gynecologist?
Right,
I'm just going to say, like, when it comes to self-defense,
what does your wife say?
No, I mean, that's why she taught it. She taught many, many ways. She would ask me, "Do you want to teach?" I'm like, "No, it's all you. I'm going to be the guy that's going to try to make it as real as possible."
Yeah, I'll be the assistant, right? Yeah.
I could take a shot, you know, but here's the thing I want to add to that. You guys watch UFC, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay. No rules, right?
Well, what I love about, and John, can you relate to this? What I love about the UFC versus any other combat sport is it's the least amount of rules.
Least amount of rules. One of the rules is you can't poke the eye, right?
No eye gouges.
No eye gouges, throwing strikes.
So what do we teach women's self-defense? Poke the eye. What do we also teach? Don't hit to the back of the head, right?
Right.
What do we teach? Elbow the shit out of the
back of their head. They need the lethal strikes is what they need to learn.
Yeah.
To the dude's nuts, man. Basically,
is what you're going for.
That's it. Yeah, you take whatever rule, like, you know, throat, eyes, back of the head, groin. You know, like teaching somebody to punch, make a fist, an actual punch is very difficult. If you pinch your elbow, you could pinch the shit out of your elbow. You won't feel anything. So we're teaching them in close, you know, you're using that elbow, you're cracking them across the nose, you know, whatever.
I got the name for your next female class.
Go ahead.
Called chimp fighting. You know, chimps taking prisoners, guy. They're taking your fingers off, your eyeballs out. You know, they're
ripping face
and shit.
Ripping faces off, eating them. Yeah, we'll teach them how to eat face, man.
Chimp fighting class right there.
I love it. No, that is the truth. That is the truth.
That is the truth. That is the truth. That is really the, you know, I like that, Jim. I like that.
Anything you
Right.
deem valuable, they're coming for it.
Just go nuts. Yeah.
Yep.
There's a kung fu move. It's funny you said that. It's called monkey grabs fruit.
How
Honest to God, it's monkey grabs fruit.
appropriate though, because the man's junk looks like fruit.
Damn. Yeah. It's like, oh shit. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's
John,
too funny.
John, what do you call this one that comes up?
Oh, well, in sword, we call it this taking a dude's head off because you have your longer your katana and then wakizashi, your shorter,
Yep.
and you
Wakazashi. Okay.
yeah, you
I've
basically
never known the name of the other one.
yeah. There's the longer one. It escapes me what the other one is. There's even a longer.
Well, the
it's the
short
length.
sword did
Oh,
most
yeah,
of the work for him though. The Wakazashi,
Yeah,
you said,
the
right?
wakizashi, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can scissor somebody's head right off their shoulders, right?
I thought it was more for like ending people, where the other one was more for like fighting, right?
So
Well-
it's like, go ahead, Michael.
Well, the one I was talking about, let me back it up to show it a little bit. Every time I teach this and every time I got taught, it's like that.
Oh, the rip the nuts move. Yeah, where you you're basically, if somebody's throwing a punch, Michael's absolutely right. You're basically parrying the punch, and as you're doing it, you're reaching low and grabbing their nuts. And then what you do is you come back, you could strike them in the jaw as you pull their nuts. It's nasty. It's ugly.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, he's absolutely right.
He's talking about sheared it off, so it's you grab the crotch, shear his nuts off, and you're holding it up in your hand.
Yeah,
He went down with it, yeah, because he went to the face with it. But I guess, yeah, if he went down with it,
it's insane, man.
Every
Yeah,
time I
There's
talk
your
that
scissoring.
technique- Every time I talk that technique, the guys are like, "What does that mean?" You know, you grab the guy's nuts and you rip it off and you show him. Every guy in there goes, "Ugh." More of a red belt, higher belt technique.
The fun-
so.
it's all about inflicting damage. It's all about
Well,
inflicting damage.
that's just wrong.
You know what though?
That's any level.
If
when you do
come to
that-
point, though, I mean, you've checked a lot of boxes to kind of get there.
When you do that move too, and we do something called forms where you practice it, it's just repetition. So you don't even have things like bam, you're doing it. You actually hold it for a second. It's like a hero pose, like I got your balls right here.
It's
kind
so
of thing.
bad.
It is
But when
bad.
you tell that to the standard population, it
Mm.
looks pretty fucked up.
It is. It is. And
For John, he's like, "Oh yeah, you tear off the nuts." I mean, but you see
I mean,
that.
I've never seen anybody rip somebody's nuts off, but the idea is you can hit them and pull them off balance. Like think about like a low high hit in football. It's kind of the same idea. This is the pull, this is the push, and it's a low high type thing. So
If you grab a dude and hit him like that and you don't pull it off, he's done for the rest of the night, no matter what happens, right? If you
Like-
grab and hit,
I feel like that's a little like blood sport move. You just
That's it. or like those kung fu
do part in your hand or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just bloody balls in your
yeah.
show the world. Yeah.
William Wallace stuff.
William
Yeah.
Wallace stuff.
I love the first time he went into the blood sport and he goes, you gotta stop this guy from fighting. He goes, I can do anything I want to stop him from fighting. He goes, yeah. He goes over, does the splits, and just goes bam right in his nuts. And the dude's end of the fight, comes up, grabs the money, takes off.
Highly effective.
Highly effective. That's the best way to put it. I would say, what do we teach? We teach highly effective techniques to
Subdue.
counter evil.
What's one technique that you guys think would work most of the time? Very, very effective. What do you think? I have an idea. I just want
I
to get
have
your
one
opinion.
too.
As far as what's the goal? What's the
The goal is
Stop the fight.
you're just trying to stop a fight and get the hell out of there. Like
Yeah,
there's one move, and you just want to do your thing and get the hell out of there.
I always have felt like a fucking broken nose is just the worst goddamn thing to deal with, man.
It is.
You
It
can't
is.
see, you're crying, but who knows? Just bones are
Snap.
shattered, floating around. It's just
Blood.
you can't
your
breathe,
tears.
probably.
You
Like
can't breathe. Yeah, yeah.
so
That is
bad.
pretty nasty. It
John,
is.
what's yours?
So, what's a technique that Bruce Lee used to do, like lightning freaking fast, that he would teach in Jeet Kune Do? Is the eye gouge.
Chicken go.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the idea is not to go poke like the Three Stooges, because you can miss, right?
You put your whole
But
hand
you
out there.
literally just did like you did, just what you did there. And we were always taught a closed fist is slower than something like open-handed, like you can just flick, just as fast as, and that's how Bruce Lee, I mean, he just, pow, and you hit somebody in the eyes, like you said, it's like they shut down
Yeah.
because the eye. I was supposed to be an optometrist. I'm in healthcare,
Really?
but I was supposed to be an optometrist. But we learned a long time ago that the eye. That's why the way we blink sometimes is involuntary. It's so fast, is
Mm.
because you need to protect your eye. Where it's like without your sight, you're screwed, right? Screwed. Even one eye, right? Because the other eye wants to protect itself. It shuts down automatically. It's like an anatomical type of process where it just reacts. But if you get both eyes, what are the chances of that person opening both his eyes and going after you?
Like, oh, I'm ready again.
Right?
I needed a second.
Michael, what about you, Michael? What do you think?
That is the technique. We call it Cobra Strike, and it is, you open hands, all fingers and thumb, because you might miss with all of them, but
Call it the John Jones jab.
the John Jones jab.
John Jones jab. I love it.
I've only been knocked out one time in my life, and I was at work, and I put up the piece of wood on top of a refrigerator, and it bowed down and ended. It was a 16-foot piece of wood.
Oof.
And I went to grab something, and I got up and went like this. And then I woke up with one of my guys fanning me. And I'm like, Fidel, what are you doing in my bedroom? Because when do you wake up? In your bed.
Mm.
I woke up, Fidel, what are you doing in my bedroom? This isn't my bedroom. Ah! So I got knocked out just by hitting a piece of wood. So if you fingertip strike and push into the eyeballs, you can explode the eyes and literally get knocked out.
Just take a spoon, get a spoon, carry a spoon with you.
Yep.
I'm gonna run one more thing by you guys.
Here we go with chaos.
Okay, you ready? So it's pitch black, right? And you can't really see well. And in other words, you would be shooting in the dark if you tried to poke their eyes, right? There was a technique we learned where we trap, and it looks like this, like you're shooting a spear through your arm. It looks stupid. It's like, what the heck are you doing? But the idea is that when you grab somebody's arms, like and you tuck them, like they got you and you tuck them, if you touch the side of their face, you can follow along and find their eyeball with your thumb. So the idea is that
feelers, the feelers for the
exactly. As soon as you touch
you
that
miss
cheek,
and knock them out.
yeah, that cheek right there,
and knock them out.
If you could just find their head, you're good.
And pow, that thumb goes right into the. Anyway, we could go on and on.
Yeah,
Cool.
I like this. This is good. This is getting juicy.
This is good.
Yeah, juicy eyeball.
Juicy.
We enjoy this, and we probably could talk about this for like 12 hours. I'm not arguing it. But give me one thing that martial arts has taught you that's so helpful in your business or everyday life.
That's probably what we should have been talking about this whole time.
Well, no, this is a great setup.
No,
This is a good
flow, man.
to talk about
good.
To talk about what martial arts is to us, right? And how we love to teach and love the sport. It's a sport, but how is it? It's useful on the streets, which we'll never use because nobody's going to come up to us and say they're going to kick our ass because we'll be like, okay, what have you learned in the martial arts dojo that you've taken to business in anything you've done?
So I've owned two separate businesses in my lifetime, and I've worked in healthcare for 32 years, right? And you go in these meetings, Michael and I talk about this, and you're surrounded by these executives that they're sort of, let's be nice about it,
academic types.
Pompous ass, they got a couple of 3 letters after their last name, CEO, COO, CFO. And
egos.
Right? Yes. And they kind of treat you as shit. And it's like they
don't have the 3 letters.
Right. I mean, it's like one of those situations where they try to lord themselves over you, and sometimes the way they act, right? It's kind of it's called there was actually a book written about it. It's basically using martial arts in that type of setting. Okay, and follow me on this for a second. any good teacher worth their salt, if they're going to test you, and let's say it's black belt, but not really, there's other belts, right? But let's say black belt test. When you're done with that black belt test, you better feel like that is the hardest damn thing you ever did in your life at the
Crucible.
end of the crucible.
Crucible.
If
Good
you've
call.
been to the crucible, that's why military are very, very useful in leadership roles, is because they have experienced stuff that the average knucklehead in a executive environment has never ever seen, tasted, or touched or whatever.
Yeah.
So by having that resolve and having that aptitude to go into a setting like that, you're actually at an advantage, because I've had people come at me. In my head, I'm beating the shit out of them, right? But the response I have is I'm not rattled. I'm gonna come back at you
Composed.
with,
Yeah.
right? It's mental judo, right? You're playing this little game. So Michael, to your point, right, is so you've been to a
You
crucible.
went through 7 points I could talk on, but go ahead. Let me see the one you're doing.
Absolutely. I'll just 10 seconds
Go ahead.
more on one of
I
the.
got to hear this one.
Yeah, is I've been in many situations like that, and my response is the same. It's like you guys have seen those martial arts movies where, you got the Chinese master and he's just kind of, his arms are crossed and he's laughing, and and like anybody that comes at him, he pop beats the shit out of him, and then he goes back to being relaxed. It's like they're waiting for you to kind of cave, and you never cave because you've been through a lot of shit, tests and such. That's where in business, that's the most important thing you learn. And I used to tell my students all the time, you're good if you go to take a test. So you got to have that black belt
Mental
attitude,
toughness.
right?
Mental toughness.
So, all right, I'm
That's
good.
the composure based in confidence, like real confidence, though, because you've actually been through the thing.
Composure based in confidence. That's a. You're remind composure based. I'm gonna put that in the
We're
book.
recording it, so you're lucky.
I wish to
About
God
several different things.
he's got to
Okay.
write a book. I'm just going to point that out real quick, but go ahead.
We're gonna write the book. Yeah, we're gonna write a book on. I want to go through the several points that you talked about. So when someone's coming at you in business, what's the first thing you do? Is be calm. Why do you be calm? It's because you're at the advantage now. So here's where I
Who's going to give up the high
at
ground
fucking
first?
At Greenbelt. Because at Greenbelt, I thought I knew what I was doing. I was at the right age, I was strong enough, and I'm fighting a guy that's, a little bit better than me, and I'm going to take him out. I'm going to get better. I'm going to do it. And the second I got pissed off, boom, he hit me. I'm like, fuck. And then I came in again, boom. Now I was pissed. He got me into the pissed off position. And to describe that is, as soon as you're upset or scared, you're losing 19 IQ points. Then and there. Right then and there. You're losing 19 minimum, around 20%. And I went and just got my ass handed to me the rest of the fight.
Wow. It's feeding.
Right? And then my instructor comes over and goes, start off calm. And I'm like, okay. And I went back into it and fucking got my ass handed to me again. And then I got my ass handed to me again. Then I started to understand that when I got in and got hit, I got to calm down, find out why he hit me, and counter it. Only calm can you do that.
Let's say fighting is a thinking man's game, right?
When people are coming at John, he's already calm. He's like, oh, okay. Because I've been in fights before. I know how to fight. I know what I'm doing. And he gets more excited than upset, right? And he's like, okay, here's what you said. I'm going to counter you with this. And one of his counters was one of the most spectacular things I've ever said is going to be in the book. Tell him about the time that the guy was one of your bosses was giving you a hard time. Well, you were telling the boss multiple times, this system is going to fail. This system's, I've told you about this many times. Then it failed. And then the heads up of the hospital had a meeting, and this guy was responsible for it. And he said, well, that's John's situation. So explain what happened then. You didn't get upset. You didn't yell. You you got nice and calm.
So this composure thing, thing seems like who's going to give up the high ground first?
The person, I feel, and John, help me with this, the person that gets pissed off loses.
Yes,
But you guys
And
do this. I've noticed. Well, especially for Michael, you use this emotion to get all amped up for what you guys do, right?
that's what I
It's a
was kind
different
of
goal. It's
hanging
a
on.
different goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not a clear
Yeah.
cut across the board kind of thing.
But here's the
But
thing.
9 times out of 10, probably, right?
Well, in breaking, I'm not fighting anybody.
You're going Hulk
And
mode.
to talk about how you get amped up, we build our chi. I was talking to John one time, and it was his turn to compete, and he's standing there looking at me, and he's keying up. We call it keying up, and
Oh, I like that. I
I'll
like
never
that.
forget this as long as I live.
that.
We just set up his stack. We're going up there, guy. You get into the thing, and he's just standing there. He's looking at me, and a sweat just dripped. He was completely fine, and then sweat just. He instantly got his heart rate up, instantly got his adrenaline up, without jumping around, without doing anything. He has the ability to key up in seconds without any physical activity. It's an amazing thing to see.
Is that like an adrenaline dump? Is that kind of what that is?
Sort of. Have you ever, this is so silly, but I'm going to ask, have you ever watched any manga or anime, like Naruto and all those?
I
I
know
don't know
of
if you've ever seen.
Naruto a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. They always show like, like the hero, how like all of a sudden they start radiating like like
Dragon Ball
fire or
Z
heat
type
or
stuff.
something. Yeah, I'm not joking. It's the strangest thing. Like he was talking about the word ki, Ki, and in Chinese they call it chi, Chi,
Okay.
and it's misunderstood, and
And
it's
by
something
me
that,
especially.
well, it's like you have to experience it, and quite
Mm.
honestly,
Seems like an
it's
emotional state.
it is. There's some degree it is an emotional state. It's all triggered by mental, right? It's all triggered by you can. It sounds strange, but
It's a whole
I think
strange world, but it is what it is.
it is, right?
It's hard. I feel it's hard to describe. I want to hear John explain it because I
Yeah,
can't
me
even describe
too.
it.
Me too.
There was a guy that one of my students, he actually was special forces. I think we were mutual, right? But he was taught like when you have to act, there's a president, a US president, I think it might have been Truman, that said, if you go to war, you go to war so hard that enemy never, ever, ever wants to go at you ever
Violence of
again.
action.
Right? Exactly. So it's kind of that concept where, like, when we break shit, it's like people are like, oh, that's stupid. You're breaking this and what is that going to do? Bricks don't hit back, boards don't hit back, blah, blah. Okay. What they're missing is rather than hitting a human that freaking hard and with that type of mentality, like I'm going to kill you, you're taking it out on inanimate objects like boards and bricks that aren't like fake bullshit stuff. This is stuff that you break fingers on, you break bones, you got, and the whole point is you're
It's not
testing.
fake bullshit. At our level, it's not fake bullshit. It's 2-inch cinder blocks, and we try and bake 15 to 20 of them. So it's not that part is not. It's real bricks. It's not a fake.
Right. Well, how are you tapping into this chi? That's kind of the.
Yeah, okay.
But now there's other arts. There's other arts that jump around, do spin kicks, and then they break a board. That's a 1/4-inch balsa wood. It's a 12-inch by 10-inch 1/4-inch. That's bullshit. That I want to clarify that for the audience. But when it comes to our stuff, it's real 1-inch wood that you could go to Home Depot and get 1 by 12. Cut it 10 inches, and then you stack up as many as you can. That's what we do. That's our art. There's other arts that Taekwondo. I'm throwing them under the bus. Taekwondo do these really crazy kicks, and then they hit a board, and then it shatters. If it shatters, it's typically 1/4-inch balsa wood. Am I incorrect on that, John? We call them firecracker boards.
You're right. Feel your collarbone right there, right? Okay. If you make kind of a knife hand and kind of start chopping at it, okay. Imagine 100 times more like you're trying to break the shit out of that. That's basically I would break Louisville Sluggers with that chop hand, and I'd been on ESPN the whole bit. The reason I like doing that shit, and I went to it was funny, we were a halftime show at a baseball game, not halftime, but like the 7th inning stretch. And we did like a martial arts demonstration. And I got out there and I had Louisville Sluggers, and I would break one on one side of the field and I'd run over and they had another setup. And the baseball players, it was the craziest thing. They all came out and they're like, dude, what the F? They're like, we break them over our shin sometimes and it hurts like like hell, and you're using your little bitty part of your hand to break a freaking bat. They're like, how the hell did you do that? And this isn't being braggadocious. It's just training and mentally training, physically training.
I was gonna
And
ask that.
then
Is this something that like a regular person could do if they know how, or is this all of the micro fractures over the years and things? Is it, or
you can't walk
Okay,
up and do it. You'll
like
no.
if
break
you
your
could plant
freaking
your
hand.
brain in a regular person, they still couldn't do it, right?
I'm
You want
sorry.
to hear a
No.
story where I
I'm
failed?
sorry.
Do you want to hear a story where I failed? I didn't realize that, and I tried to have my pastor break a baseball bat with his hand, and he broke his hand.
Oh,
Ew.
that'll happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
I
good.
learned the answer to that question is I learned the answer to that question is no. It's years of training in martial arts, and then you become a breaker, and then you become professional. It's years of doing it.
But
I
here's the
was
thing.
into breaking 5 years before I got into the professional.
Michael
Right.
did
That's a long
he
time.
went to was it General Motors had you or was it Ford? I forget who it was. General Motors, right?
Jim.
So, you know, people like think something's impossible. Like,
Mm.
oh, I can't do that. All right. So
Well,
we
some
talked
people
earlier
know all this
about
shit.
right. We're talking about we're talking about hitting a crucible. Dealing with shit, and then if
Hmm.
that's the hardest thing you have to deal with, everything else underneath it is like, eh. Michael actually went to General Motors and did a wonderful speech. I saw it, and he actually had different people come up and break a board. Now, for people that train a long time, it's something that's normal, right? It's a task that we can do. But somebody that's never done that shit before,
Yeah, in
and you
your own
put that in
world,
front of them,
right?
right?
Yeah.
And Michael was trying to connect this with the capability of doing things. Michael, fill in the blanks on that one because I
Well,
remember.
it so when everybody sees a board, it's a solid surface. When a martial arts sees a board, it's something to break. It's just it's a different it's in business. I teach mindset. It's probably the hardest thing to teach. And really, sincerely, change your mindset. You can change the world.
Well, people don't change that easily.
Well, cool. But if you don't, that's your fault. And
Well,
I used to say you can do anything, but now when someone says I can't do something, I said you're right. I can't do it. You're right. You're 100% right because you said it. You can't do it.
yeah.
What has to change for you to be able to do it? I got to say I can do it. I go, okay, say you can do it. I can do it. I don't fucking believe you. Say it like you mean it. Then they can do it, right? What I
Right.
like doing is I love this. There's always an engineers. There's always I don't know why. There's always a 105-pound engineer girl sitting in the front row. They love the speech that I have to say. It seems like there's all these engineers, big, tall, small, and then there's always the one little girl up front. And then I go, this is a solid surface. How many people had to fight against a solid surface? I can't do this. I can't break this. I can't break this. Everybody raised their hand. Everybody's had something they had to fight against. They know they can't do it. And I go, who thinks they can't break this? And then that girl raises her hand and said, you're coming up. I did it every time. And I bring them up. I'm going to show you how to do this. And the look in their face is sheer terror. It's always sheer terror. And I just go, listen to my voice. Don't listen to anything else. There's going to be a voice in your head when I say hit it, and the voice is going to tell you this is going to hurt. You can't do it. Don't listen to that voice. Listen to the guy that's taught at least 1,000 people how to break wood. Okay? Good. Let me see your technique. Hit my hand. Hit my hand. Now, I want you to hit it. I want you to use your whole body into it. Come on, do that. And within 5 minutes, I show the girl, and she hits my hand. I know how much it takes to break that board. I go hit it. And she hits it 5 times that can break that board, then I know she can do it. I go, now break the board. Bam! I had one girl cry on me. Tears started falling out of her eyes, and I was like, I thought we did everything correctly here, and why are you crying? And she goes, I wanted to do something like this my entire life, and you made me do it. And then I said, you just learned how to do something that you thought was impossible. She goes, yeah. Well, you can learn to do anything now.
They broke her brain.
I broke her brain. I broke her brain. But it's just a great it's a great
Well, you removed the
analogy.
barriers in her brain, right? That's got to feel great. Yeah.
But when she started crying on me, I grew up with two brothers, man. Dude, here's how we figure out something. That's how we figure out stuff. When she cried on me on stage, I'm looking at the audience and I'm like,
I don't know what to do.
I gave her a hug, because someone told me if she's 6 years old or 60 years old, if she's crying, she just wants a hug. I gave her a hug. I go, can I give you a hug? She goes, yeah. I go, it's okay. And she was telling me those are tears of joy. And then afterwards, I learned you're not supposed to be touching people at GM. I learned that lesson real quick too. So it really is. Martial arts is great, and how you apply it. Martial arts are just different people, and I'm trying to write a book on what's the differences. The best way here's one way I can describe it. Sun Tzu, The Art of War, I think is literally the best book written outside of the Bible. Period.
Yeah.
Okay. He's short and concise, and he puts concepts in your mind. This book was written 500 years before the Bible, still taught today at Westport.
Still valid.
West Point.
Yeah.
Right? Still to this day. His techniques, his philosophies on warfare are insane.
Well, some tactics never change, and some tactics never die,
The best tactics could never be improved, which I think he solidified back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, know your opponent as you know yourself. You need not fear 100 battles. Now, how could you relate that in business, right? Let's say you're going in for a job interview, right? And you go to the job interview and they ask you a bunch of questions. And then they ask you the one question. It's the whole reason you're there. Why should we hire you? What are most people going to say?
I need a fucking job.
I need a job. You need an employee.
Yeah,
right?
we're matched. There we go.
What if you knew your opponent as you knew yourself? You need not fear 100 battles. Why should you hire me? Well, third quarter of last year, you guys were killing it. You were growing at least 20% every quarter for the last 5 quarters. You lost Jessica Smith. She was your marketing director, right? And ever since then, you've got 5, 3, 2, 0 growth in your last 4 quarters. I'm the marketing genius that wants her job. My life is marketing. I'll get you back past the 21% that she gave you. But you have to hire me today. What is that person going to say? When can you start?
Yeah.
Instead of, I need a job.
Well, it's all about leading with value, right? And then knowing what the other person wants,
And then giving it to them.
Yeah.
That's really the key. You know your opponent as you know yourself. You need not fear 100 battles. But martial artists just think differently than most people. And that's part of their thinking. Because that's what we study. And, John was talking about this scenario. There's no boardroom that John's going to be intimidated in, ever. If you're trying to intimidate me, you've already lost. So let's go with the next round. If you're going to try and injure me in business, that's still not going to. Tell about the time that the guy, we never finished that story where he wanted to get you in trouble.
Let me get back on his chi for a second, because we never got into the
you
chi.
love that chi stuff. Go ahead.
It's different, right? It's not indigenous.
It is something that's
how are you getting into this chi? And how does this relate to someone doing, because they mentioned their chi in this free flowing fashion when they're doing their whatever? It's not a stretch. It's not. I guess it's an exercise of sorts, right? So how does your chi in that moment when you're all raged up? Is that the same thing as what they're doing?
So
John, you're going to take this one.
Yeah, Tai Chi. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So, in Asian philosophy, especially martial arts, right? The idea is that there's the thought is that you're always trying to improve yourself, right? You're always trying to tap in. And there's something that actually, if I can just, because from a healthcare standpoint, believe it or not, there's a measure that they're using now called grip strength. And they can tell by grip strength how healthy you are. Is that
Ooh,
crazy?
that's like the
There's
only thing I train for anymore.
well,
You're probably one of the healthiest people I know.
well,
But
there's a
seriously though, that's like probably my most valued form of strength these days.
well, it's think about it. It's there's a correlation, right?
It's like a
Meaning,
heart
it,
pumping thing, I think.
right? You have energy to be able to, do that. And the point is that in developing your chi, right? It's kind of like developing an internal muscle, if you will.
Well,
Yeah, I can't hear you, John.
You to live.
Oh,
Oh, can you hear me?
you're coming
Okay.
back.
it says
Yeah, you were
incoming
out for a
call.
couple seconds. So
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all good.
Gotcha. It's if you think of chi as kind of like, I don't want to confuse you, but like a person's soul, right?
Okay.
Okay. So how do you keep your soul strong? And ki and chi is kind of they always refer to it as an internal thing.
Okay.
So you're developing that aspect of it. I'll tell you what, I'm explaining it in a very esoteric manner,
That's
but
fine, but
yeah.
that's completely fine. I'm just trying to
Okay.
make it tangible in my head, you know?
Here's an example. Ready? This is the simplistic as possible. Michael Jordan gets up on the free throw line, tosses the ball, and it literally swishes, goes through the net every time. In a way, he's developed his ki or chi to be able to do that.
Composure?
It's not even composure.
it's
I'm
the
trying to put
flow.
words to this. It's tough.
it's magic, man.
It's your flow. Let me separate that. The soft chi and the hard chi. I think is what he's trying to ask about. So the soft chi is tai chi. You're constantly in energy,
Like a flow.
right? Like a flow. Michael Jordan's free throw,
Was this
right?
like a flow versus strike? Like
Yes.
condensed
Now,
versus like free
yeah,
flowing kind of
flow
thing?
is even flow. So there's no stop. It's going this direction, going this direction. There's no stop. It's all flow, right? And I don't know Tai Chi that well, so I can't really speak on the flow part. But there's times, and you have it sometimes, and sometimes you don't. When you're sparring and you're up against one guy that's really, really good, and then you're just kicking his ass, and then the next tournament he's kicking your ass. It's just you're in the flow at certain points. You're in your chi. It's just something you have or don't have at certain times. Now the key up, what we do,
Get
where I
that.
can just look at John and he just starts sweating, is the best way I can describe it. Josh Stokes, one of my students that took over for me at the U.S. Open. I didn't want to leave going to the Open and not have any of my students going over there and not winning first places every time. I wanted to keep American martial arts #1 in their minds. And I
Yeah.
had this one student that was solid muscle, ex-ranger, real nice guy, too nice of a guy. And I'm like, hey, you're going to the Open. We're going to start practicing. And so for months, we're just breaking stuff with these rebreakables. And then I said, like 2 weeks before the Open, I said, we bought some real bricks because you don't want to practice real bricks every day because it's expensive. You know what I mean? You're $2 a piece and you get 40 of them, $80, or now it's $4 a piece. And I set up 9 of them. And I go, you got to get pissed off. You got to get pissed off. You got to get like so fucking pissed off and focus that rage into that quarter-inch spot. Do you understand that? He goes, we can't get mad. And I'm like, not getting this, you have to. And he goes, I can't. And I go, then show me your technique. We were breaking
Sounds like he's
rebreakables.
afraid to.
No, he's not afraid to. It's. Let me finish this story. He's not afraid to, but it was flipping a switch. It's the teacher got into the student, and a very competitive guy. His son's a Division I wrestler right now, so everything he does, he wants to compete really well at. So we stack up 9. I'm sitting there. I go, come on, practice hard, man, loud, man, hard, loud, man, hard. I'm jonesing him up, trying to give him my energy. Come on, let's go, let's do it. He gets up, boom, he breaks 3 bricks. And he saw what he did, and he got pissed off and went, bam, and broke the other 6. And I go, do that first. you failed and you got pissed off and then you did it. He
It's
knows
like,
what
God
it is
damn
now.
it.
He knows what it is now, right? He knew what he had to do. He did it already.
He couldn't get to
the first time. I set up another 9. He fucking smashed it. Ever since then, he's got all the belts, all the awards that I've never showed up for. He's fucking killing it.
He got to the goddamn it on the first try.
It's a learning, you know, and what you have inside you is greater than what's in the world.
It's so it too, isn't it? Because oh man, how many people get pissed off when they react to something, right? Most people probably, but to just generate that on will is kind of different.
It is, and here's what martial arts teaches you is to be calm, and then to have that rage and focus it. If you're off 4 inches each way on an elbow strike, you've lost 5 to 10 bricks. If you don't hit dead nuts in the middle and come straight down, you can't break them all. If you have a stack like this, if a stack's like this, and they're all going this way in between them, and you hit straight down, you have the ability. But if you're on an angle going this way, you're going to hit, the energy is going to end here at the 5 bricks. It's not going to go past the other 5 bricks. You got to focus. You got to think about what you're going to do. You got to react in rage. In the rage, you got to focus it.
So is this the closest thing I could think of? This is like you have your flowing one, and then the other one. The only word I can come up with in my head is like a meanness.
Rage is the
It's
best.
like,
John,
it's
you
like
got
a
a better word.
meanness, though. It's like the meanness.
differently?
You want to put a meanness on something. Rage is kind of like an internal thing, right?
Yeah, but it's your rage, and you got to focus it, which I find very difficult. Most people
I
have
think
rage.
everybody would find that difficult.
John does it like nothing.
Practiced, I guess, right?
John is probably the best at focusing his rage and I've ever seen.
If you take and compare it to this, okay, somebody throwing a dart and hitting a bullseye,
Okay.
right? There's a certain amount of focus and right. So,
No
but that's
rage.
no rage. That's like full focus, and somehow it magically, bam, it hits the bullseye. And then you got a football player lined up on the line. The ball gets, hiked, and the guy's going through to tackle the quarterback. It's the same here, right? And you can almost say that, they keyed up or cheat up for both. Doesn't have to be a violent act. It doesn't have to be throwing a dart act. In other words, it's kind of all encompassing. Like okay, here's a good example.
There's like explosive focus versus a maybe more of a technical focus.
It could be kind of categorized in that regard. Both are similar because there's a degree of like you're tapping into yourself for it. Does that make sense? Like
But just putting words to it is tough, right?
It is tough.
I find it very difficult to explain.
Yeah. But it's fun to kind of like meander around in there and try to figure out like because everybody wants to break these. As smart persons, sign with smart persons, take complex things and break them down to simple terms so that everybody can kind of understand them, right?
Here's the best way to answer your question is allow either Master Michael Menino or myself to spend an hour with you, and I promise you'll understand it better through like an interaction.
Anybody feeling it will understand it more. But just conveying it through words is tough, I bet.
It is. It's weird, and you don't want to make it so. Like a lot of people make fun of it. They like some people.
Woo woo. Yeah.
Yeah, they get a little too woo woo with it, right? And I don't like woo woo. I really don't. I want to learn it. And Michael knows this about me. I'll question things to the point to where I'll research it enough to where I want to understand it, so I have kind of a better understanding of it. Where if somebody comes at me with a woo woo idea, I could go, "This is what I know," and I've seen you like. Okay, back to business for a second. I just finished a doctorate class, and it's called Analyzing Behavior in Organizations, and you use something called the 4-frame analysis. You look at one problem from 4 different aspects, not just one. So it's called personal bias, where you're saying it has to be like this to solve the problem. You purposely reframe it.
This
The idea is not
method, really.
Say that again.
It's the Socratic method, really.
Correct. It is. It
Poking,
truly
hole
is.
poking in your ideas,
Exactly. But it forces you to look at it to the point to where now out of all the four frames, you kind of prioritize which one makes the most sense and you kind of gravitate towards that. So anyway, it's kind of like the same understanding of ki and chi. It's difficult to um, I'm gonna borrow a Star Trek quote. Ready?
He's
When
gonna love
Spock,
this.
this is the best.
It's
Spock was talking to James T. Kirk, and he was he was Kirk was trying to relate to Spock, and Spock said, "Unless you're at my IQ, basically, there is no way in hell you're ever going to understand this." And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying unless you experience it at our level, it's difficult to explain to someone that's not really, you know, it's
difficult to
difficult.
explain to anybody, I bet. But
Yeah, and again, it's not.
It's easier. Let's put it this way: it's easier to show you than tell you.
There
yeah,
you go.
most
Thank
things
you.
probably are, right? I think most
Yeah.
people are hands-on
Well,
learners.
this one is definitely in our.
Because this is probably where most people get tripped up with this, right? Is they want to, like you and I would think, right? Oh, I learned. Oh, is it real? I don't know. I'm gonna do some research. Oh, it seems like there's more to it. I don't know. What is it? I don't even know exactly.
And that's a good way. That's a great way to be. Like you said, the Socratic method of understanding
Let's
is,
poke holes in
I
every
feel is
theory. Yeah.
well. That's the way every theory has been proven,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
A scientist comes out with a theory and explains his theory, and he sets it out to probably in his genre. You know what I mean? You don't want a physicist, talking about mechanics. You want to talk, you
Right.
want an
Right.
astrophysicist, other astrophysicists on this
Put it out
theory,
into the ether and let the world do with it what they will. Yeah.
and let the pros, not people from Wikipedia, more like
Right.
his peers,
Right.
or
Right.
above, right? His superiors, or maybe even subordinates, but his peers are going to poke holes in it. If nobody can poke holes on it, they call it a theory, right? Here's my theory. I want you to disprove this theory. Now, I think that's the best way to find truth. And if you can find a better way for humans to
That's
think
so
that way,
tough.
let me know.
That's so tough because it's like you're generating anger essentially, but you're trying to
Oh,
do something with it, which nobody usually does well.
It's focusing rage. It's that's the best way I can describe it. There's no other. John saying different ways of looking at it. I can't think of anything else. I really can't.
Because
okay.
I think most people find rage and could get to rage easily, but to do something with it is the whole new
Productive.
thing.
Here's one
Do something
for you.
productive with it.
Yeah. Well, here's one for you. You ever see the Olympic like 50-yard or 100-yard dash?
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. What do they do before they get up on they toe up on the line? A
I
lot of
think they're
those guys
breathing, right? They're
breathing, they're jumping up and down, they're flexing, they're making
the motor
faces,
going essentially, which is like you said, heart stuff, I guess.
they're getting charged up, and then what do? They get on the line and they calm down and they focus. As soon as that gun goes off, bam, they're like, gone. They're like gazelles. It's the same thing with braking. It's like you charge up, you charge up, you charge up, and then you get really focused because, like Michael said, you don't want to hit anything on an angle. You want the perfect hit. Like with sword, we used to call it the perfect cut. You're not just Star Warsing with a sword.
Mm.
If you can go, fuck, that's it. Guy's head goes rolling off. You put your sword
You
back and
won. You
walk
won.
away, right?
You keep your sword, walk away. You get
And
his
that's
sword. That's
the whole key chi thing. It's very
Okay.
esoteric.
like you said, the perfect cut. And there's a really
I'm
cool.
about to
I
get
wish I could
running
show you a
on
bokeh. You know what a bokeh is, right? Right.
a boat.
Okay.
Bokeh. A bokeh is a
Boca?
wooden sword, right? It's a practice sword. So you can hit stuff with it, and you can feel the vibration. Boom, boom. You can practice with it. It's called a bokeh. It's just a wooden sword, right? And this one high level, I think it was the seventh on Aikido. Aikido. What John? It was a sword samurai, and he would put up a piece of paper, and then two people would hold the piece of paper, and you hit it. If you pulled the paper out of the hands, two people would hold little pieces of paper.
Grab it.
But if you did it right, it would cut the paper right down the line of your sword.
Alexa, set a timer
Yeah.
for 2 minutes.
So I apologize. I probably have to. I hear the kids, and I've got a couple of phone
Do you want to
calls.
cut it out?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think. What do you think? It's probably a good time to.
During your
Time? End this?
Could be. That's
It
fine.
could be.
I appreciate it,
let's
John.
cut
That's
it
fun,
out. Tell
though.
the wife and kids I
Appreciate
said
having
hi.
you on, man. That's pretty cool.
It's so nice to
John,
meet
would you want to
you.
come back
So
on
nice
next
to talk
week?
to you. That'd be great.
Get this
Well,
book going,
be
apparently.
I'll be more focused.